It's time for the Unnamed SWTOR Podcast, a podcast so good it doesn't need a name. So without any further ado, here's your host, JD. Take it away, Johnny.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 39 of the Unnamed SWTOR Podcast, recorded on March 30th, 2014. I'm your host, JD, aka Gaddick Teague, and today's episode, we'll be talking about the things I forgot to talk about last week. Not really forgot, but ran out of time. The PvP question and answers and the assassin changes that I will definitely be discussing in the first segment. And in the second segment today, we're going to talk about the state of the PTS, what I thought about the patch 2.7 PTS, how it fared with their new release schedule that they have going on, their new development schedule, the 9-week content cycle with longer PTSs. We're going to talk about how I thought they handled this first crack at the new long-form PTS. All this and an idea fresh off my wall of crazy. Let's force leap right in.
Red 2, I've got a topic coming in hot, requesting clearance to engage.
Lock S foils and attack positions. You are cleared to discuss. So as I alluded to last week, but didn't actually have time to get to, Eric Musco posted a list of frequently asked questions and some answers directly from the combat team about PvP specifically. There's some very interesting stuff in this Q&A. Some stuff that I definitely really agree with, and some stuff that I think is kind of ridiculous. So let's go run through some of the questions, some of the bigger questions. Some of them are simple, like, is cross-server queuing coming? It's not. Stop asking. Just seriously, it's not happening. It's not happening. There we go. Done. Not happening. Okay. Now that that's out of the way. Will we ever be able to choose specific war zones to queue for? Well, this one is a question that I definitely see people talking mostly when they discuss Hutball, because Hutball is a very take it or leave it thing, I think. A lot of people really like Hutball, and a lot of people really hate Hutball, so I think this is majorly... So I think this is mostly regarding that. I guess there are some other war zones that some people like and dislike, but the answer that they give is that from a design side, we do like the idea of allowing our players to be able to impact which war zone they would like to queue for, but it's not as simple as letting everyone select which war zone they want and call it a day. Because of a few reasons, queue populations, preventing the de facto best war zone, making sure all war zones being played, etc., it would require a fully fledged design around the new queuing system in order to make sure the system was sustainable, which makes sense. I mean, they don't want certain war zones to just go unplayed and totally unused. The whole burning content thing, they don't want that to happen. And they also don't want the tyranny of the majority over, the people who do like those other war zones. It isn't a bad thing if you enjoy Hutball or if you enjoy Voidstar and no one else likes Voidstar. If there is still a small population that likes Voidstar, they should be able to get into a match of what they really like playing once in a while. And if you don't have enough players to do that who are queuing for that one, they'll just be sitting in queue all the time, which is bad for everyone. That's just not a good thing. I could see them adding a preferences maybe where you can sort of influence, which is I think what they're alluding to here, where you can, slightly edge one war zone over another, where you can maybe rank the war zones, and they come up with some kind of crazy formula that puts it all together and figures out, okay, it's time to do this war zone now, it's time to do that war zone there. I do definitely think that they should add, and I don't know if there is something like this, but it definitely doesn't seem like it if there is, from all the PvP I've done. Some kind of system where you don't end up getting the same war zone back to back to back to back. It seems like if you get one war zone and you get it again, you're going to get it like 4 or 5 times in a row. I've played too many Novara Coasts in a row to think that there's a system in there to prevent that. It's pretty annoying, and I definitely like more variety in my PvP maps. So if they could do something like that, I think I'd be more than happy with it. Maybe I could also see the ability to turn off and on if you want to do arenas or not, because you need less people for arenas. Arenas are also quicker, so I feel like people that are just queuing to get their dailies and stuff done would want to do more arenas, so I don't think that you'd have a problem with there aren't enough people to do arenas in normals. So I could see being able to turn that off, because I feel like that's something that enough players don't like without hurting the other players. I think that there's a good mix in there where I could see them adding something like that. Next up, have you ever considered implementing a Hutball League? We've certainly seen a lot of suggestions around the creations of Hutball League for sure. Implementing a Hutball League has a special place on our Wall of Crazy, but it is not in our current roadmap. Okay, people, I'm gonna sit you all down here for a sec. The Hutball League idea is pretty stupid. Yes, it would be cool, in theory, if Hutball was some kind of crazy esport. Sure, fine. It's not gonna happen. You don't artificially create esports. That's just not how the esport scene works. Esports come naturally unless you're backed by a billion-dollar Chinese company who's gonna pump money on money to get the esport going. This isn't League of Legends. This isn't Dota. This is not how PvP works. MMO PvP has been a terrible esport for as long as it's been in existence. If you've ever watched WoW PvP on any form of MLG, I think MLG is the only place where it is or was. I don't even know if it's still there. It's terrible. It's awful. It should not be an esport. Stop trying to make it an esport. It's not happening. Okay, we're done. Done with Hutball League. Next question. Why is Bolster in ranked PvP? Why not just require a high level of PvP gear? And this question is very perplexing. So let's go through the answer. This is a great question, and one we put a lot of thought into when we made the decision to keep Bolster in ranked PvP. As many of you likely know, in the past, we've had an entry-level set for PvP gear called Recruit. Wearing this set into a Warzone would put you into an entry level for PvP. However, having Recruit gear in the endgames created two important factors. The player needed to know how ranked PvP at max level worked, and the player needed to get gear and actually equip it. Okay, I completely agree with why Bolster is in PvP. That's not the question. The question is, why is it in ranked PvP? Anyone who says that Bolster does not belong in normal PvP is completely senseless, in my opinion. Bolster makes complete sense, in theory, if it works properly. Yes, there are bugs, and I've said it a million times, bugs need to be fixed in the Bolster system. They're getting close. They're removing the last couple known bugs. I'm sure there'll be new bugs when it comes out. Are there simpler systems? Probably, but Bolster in normal PvP makes complete sense. That's still not the question. It says, why is Bolster in ranked PvP? And they go on. Although this may seem like something which is obvious to many of you who are more seasoned and hardcore PvPers, these factors being missed led to many players' first experience being that they got stomped in PvP. Although we understand there are certainly dues to be paid when you play PvP, they shouldn't come right at the beginning of someone's PvP career. We also wanted the ranked population to be as high as possible within the level 55 bracket, so we have Bolster in place so that as many people can participate in the system. Okay. That's not the point of Bolster. Okay, so they give a one-line nod to the fact that they're talking about ranked here, and their excuse is that they want the population to be as high as possible. This is something I agree with. A lot of the people who are complaining about Bolster being in ranked are also complaining about the low populations in ranked Q-Pops, so it is a double-edged sword here. But what I think you could do, and I'm sure if I looked at the numbers, I haven't, obviously, because BioWare does not release any of those numbers. If you looked at the numbers, once you announced the ranking and the rewards for the end of season, the ranked populations have been relatively good at prime times especially. And we've discussed this before, prime times are what you're aiming for. If you're complaining about your queue popping at non-peak hours, at like ridiculous hours, 4 in the morning server time, or like 9 AM on a weekday, then your queues are going to be bad no matter what you're doing. So worrying about ranked populations at those times is moot in my opinion. But getting the ranked populations as high as possible should be a goal, but you should be getting those ranked populations up with players who can actually compete in ranked. If you are just getting ranked populations up to artificially get queues popping and making matches completely unbalanced, that defeats the whole point of ranked. You want ranked to be as balanced as possible within reason. You want the matches to be matches of players that have basically equal gear levels, that have the gear to compete with other top level ranked teams. You want the disparity in ranked should be skill. It should not be gear. So getting the populations up just to get the populations up for the sake of doing it and to get more players playing, the players that are playing these matches are not going to have as much fun and enjoy it. The players that are getting stomped, do you think they're going to want to do ranked again? if you're just getting raffle stomped constantly by teams that are in better gear, that doesn't help them progress into ranked PvP and get them more invested in ranked PvP, especially because you can't get your dailies done. So it's not like you're just going in there to get stomped. You're trying to get your rating up. So if those players are just constantly getting stomped because their gear is not good enough, then they should be getting their gear in normals and not getting into solo queue ranked. And that's really what I'm talking about. I don't really care about team PvP. If you want to go get a team together of whoever you want and go into ranked, I think ranked should be no bolster on any group. But I think if you get a group together and get into PvP, that's on you to do ranked. That's on you to make sure that everyone on your team has competitive gear. And if you want to take a guildie, if you're, say, 2100 ranking or something crazy like that, and you want to take your fresh 55 guildie, just because he's a good player, he's going to do some CC and you're going to do most of the work, you're going to carry him to a rating, that's fine. I think that's part of the purpose of having ranked PvP in groups, is so that you can do things like that. You can group with who you want. But when you're solo queuing, you are putting your life, basically, your rating, your ranking, on other players. So you need to have a reasonable expectation that they will be able to compete at the top level. So the only way you can do that, I think, and we'll talk about in the Wall of Crazy, is by setting an expertise level or a certain gear level. I don't like putting a certain gear level. The thing I do see happening is there are a ton of ways to cheese the system whenever you put some kind of artificial level on anything. Obviously, if you look at the bolster system, that's an artificial level that you put out there, and people cheese that all the time. So I don't know the best way to do it, but there does need to be some kind of gating mechanism in solo queue ranked PvP to prevent the fresh 55 from going to ranked PvP, because lol, I'm gonna do ranked PvP. BioWare isn't helping anyone by getting the ranked population up if you're not getting the ranked population of the right people up. If you want to get the ranked population up, just put a level on it, make you have a certain level of gear, make sure people can compete in ranked PvP, and then announce the rewards. And players will do whatever they can to get those rewards. Obviously, they're working hard to get those rewards. They're awesome rewards, and players want them, so they'll do whatever they can to get them. So that's how you solve your population problem in ranked, and I think that they do need to remove bolster from ranked PvP. Next question. Will you be introducing rewards in the future seasons to recognize those players who achieved ratings, the highest ratings? 1500 seems like a low bar for some players. And I definitely think that this has some merit. I think that there should be super special rewards for the top 10 or 20 players in the leaderboards who really overachieve the 1500. I'm sure there are people out there with the 2100 ELO rating in some form. I haven't looked at the leaderboards in a while, so I don't know the exact numbers, but they should reward those players a little bit more. But I also think that, and this is just conjecture here, that a lot of players now are saying and I was actually guilty of this too. I was in the same boat, thinking that the 5%, the 1500 seems a little low, because you start seeing a lot of players now who are really working towards that rating, trying to get the 1500 ELO to get their rank or amount and then stopping. But if you think about it, of all those players who are now getting into ranked PvP, how many of those are not achieving the 1500 while getting into the ranked PvP? There's definitely been a large uptick in the number of people doing ranked. So it makes sense that the top 5% would actually go up, and that makes sense. It's not like, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but from the sounds of it, it seems like the 5% is staying intact. It's not like now there's 10, 15, 20% getting the rank or amount. So like I said, I don't have the actual numbers to bear this out. I can't, say, okay, there's X number of players and this is the actual percentage. But I get the feeling from reading this answer here that the 5% is staying intact. So those were just a few highlights from the question and answers that they did. You can go to the forums and check those out. They're kind of old, so you're going to have to scroll back a few pages in the dev tracker. But they're there. You can read all about what they want to do with 3v4 matchups, some crazy matchmaking systems that they would like to do, huge rating gaps, and match fixing, which it's nice to know that they are aware that some people are artificially inflating their rankings, and those players will see themselves not getting any rewards at the end of Season 1. One scary thing about that is you never know with automatic detection systems like this. Someone might get caught in the crossfire and you feel really bad for them, but hopefully it does it right and only gets the real cheaters and screws them out of the Rancor mount at the end of the season. Alright, so we're going to take a break here. I'm going to come back and we are going to talk about the PTS, the state of the PTS, what I thought about the patch 2.7 PTS, and the current design schedule that we have going. In this week's second segment, I'd like to talk about the PTS, which was announced will be going down this week. So, if you want to get your last couple of tests in on the new Hutball map or the Nightmare modes or whatever you'd like to take a look at before it goes live in patch 2.7, which is in April. Let's see, I think it's April 9th. Let's take a look at the calendar. It is April 8th. We'll be going live on April 8th, which is pretty exciting. That'll be here before we know it. And the PTS this time around I felt was really good. I felt like BioWare was definitely taking notice, making changes. Things were getting fixed while they were up for testing. I don't think BioWare was afraid to show unfinished products to the masses. They put out the Hutball map with the main mechanic not working. They brought that down, fixed it up, put it back up for testing, and seems like it's going to be a good one. As you guys are well aware, I'm not a big fan of the new flashpoints, but the story around the flashpoints was very good. I don't think there was much that they could have done to fix the flashpoints. I just thought they were very boring designed flashpoints and didn't think they were great, so not much to be done there. But I think the big takeaway from this one is their willingness now, and it seems like it's a new philosophy at BioWare, to make more radical changes class balance wise and make them more frequently, make them more often. And this is a good thing. I think they've done good things with the Sage DPS. They're doing some good stuff for other classes, and I think this style of class balance is going to be good for the game overall. And again, it shows that they're not afraid to show us sort of how their thought process goes. They're definitely being more open. Like in the last segment where they did that PvP question and answer segment, they are answering the class representative questions, I think, in a more realistic way. I don't think that they are going crazy with the class representative questions, but I think they are giving us honest answers, and I think that's what people want. They are straightforward answers. They're not like the heel to full debacle kind of sarcastic seeming answers. They're very straightforward. Some things you may disagree with, but I think their delivery method is far more solid now, and I think their community interaction with certain things have gotten a lot better within the last 4 or 5 months. I think starting maybe patch 2.6 and 2.7, you can really see, I don't know if it's a change necessarily, or if it's just they're trying to be more community friendly, I think, and more user-friendly, and I think the PTS for patch 2.7 kind of mirrors that, which was it was a good thing. I was happy that they did that. I wasn't able to test certain things because I think there are still issues with the PTS that need to be resolved. There are no rewards. There's no reason to get onto the PTS other than to just try the new content before it's out and be testing guinea pigs. And for some people who have limited playtime, there's just no reason to go on the PTS if they're not going to get anything from it. They want to be playing the game for real that matters. They want to be playing for keeps. And when you're playing on the PTS, it's not like that. So there are many people who just don't have hours and hours in the day to be on the PTS constantly. So if they incentivize the PTS and maybe only opened it up during certain times or made special events for the PTS so players could get on at times when they know that the queues will be popping. There will be more people on the fleet. They did that the community did that in the Monday Night Football last week, and I heard that worked out really well. So I think the devs should be working more with the community to get events like that going, because when we get events like that going, the PTS gets more testing, and they can fix more bugs and find more bugs. So it's good stuff there. Like I said, I like the direction that they're going. I do like that they are making class changes, like I said. I think the Sorcerer DPS is going to be a little overpowered when it comes out. We'll see how they actually end up, because they seem really strong on the PTS right now from everything I've seen. Which is probably a good thing, you know? They could use a little bit of love. I think that they were totally viable DPS before, but little added incentive to play the class that people like is a good thing. And I think that their efforts to remove RNG components to certain classes is also a good thing. RNG based classes are usually very annoying to play and very unreliable to play, which is a disincentive to play those classes. So removing any kind of RNG when possible and making it more rotation based and learning different rotations, you know, everything doesn't have to be the same always, but if you can remove certain stupid non-player related things, that's a good thing. Get players to react to procs instead of getting players to react to RNG, and that's how I think the classes in general should be balanced. All classes should be like that. The one change that I definitely was completely flabbergasted by was the assassin change to spike or spinning kick, and the fact that they changed it from a knockdown to a stun, citing that the knockdown had a couple of seconds, not a couple of seconds, but a few split seconds of inability to control your character even if a breaker was used. So of course they just changed it to a straight stun. So that means that they changed the knockdown for the operative to that, right? Nope, still a root. It's cool. Operatives suck. Forget about it. Don't worry. Yeah, so Bioware, how about we change the other knockdown to a stun instead of the snare, for the ridiculous non-reasons that have been given for that change? You know? Make it even. And I'm not one that likes class homogenization, but I think this is an area where that is warranted. I kind of wish that they just fixed the knockdown animation so that it doesn't stuck the player for however many split seconds and made it more even with other stuns, that you'd break right out of it, as you do with a normal stun. But if they're going the way of not fixing that and just making the knockdown a stun, then they really should go back and change the operative to change that knockdown to a stun. Because I still think that class change is ridiculous, and I have a feeling that we'll see it reverted soon after when operatives realize how important a tool that knockdown is. Or when the developers see how important a tool that was when the operatives get to playing it and, you know, really show how important of a tool that was. We'll see the numbers bared out when it goes live. As all class changes, you never know, but I have a strong feeling that's how that one's going to go. So overall, I think that the PTS was good. I think that the community interaction has been a lot better, and I like that the class changes are being more frequent, more publicized, more of them, which is definitely positive for the game, positive for all aspects of the game in my opinion. So good on them for that, and please change the operative knockdown back to a stun. That's all I really have to say about the PTS, and with that being said, it's time for the Wall of Crazy.
What? That's impossible even for a computer. It's not impossible. I used to bullseye womp rats in my T16 back home. They're not much bigger than 2 meters.
This week's Wall of Crazy topic is going to be a pretty quick one, because I asked you on Twitter what you would like to see for Season 2 of Ranked PvP. It broke down into basically 2 categories. Those who want a Ranked 8v8 back, which I think would be cool, and it's kind of sad because I think bringing Ranked 8v8 back now, I think it would work better. I think the populations are better with the super servers. I think that the framework of a ranked season with 8v8 I think would work better now, but I don't think we're going to see that happening. So sadly, I don't think we'll be getting that, but that's why it goes in the Wall of Crazy. And the other one I already discussed, which is the baseline level of gear in order to compete in ranked PvP, especially in solo queues. So those are your Wall of Crazy topics this week. Thank you very much for all of you who discussed it on Twitter. And that'll about do it for today's show. The winner of last week's Taunfaun code. I asked you guys to name a hotball team, and at Yoji Vowie gave Vowry, sorry if I say your name incorrectly. He tweeted me a wonderful 32 NFL teams as if they were in Star Wars, which is wonderful. Not exactly the spirit of what I wanted, but I will take it. And he will be getting a Taunfaun code via Twitter, so check your inbox for that. Next week, if you would like to win an astromech, that's right, I have astromech pets to give away now. So, if you would like to win one, all you have to do is tweet at GT with the hashtag astromech and tell me what your favorite war zone is. Yes, we've talked a lot about PvP and war zones today. So tell me what is your favorite war zone at GT with the hashtag astromech for your chance to win. Also, I'm going to say this again, last time I'll talk about this. Boot Hill Heroes on Greenlight, go say yes, linked in the show notes. 16-bit RPG that's really cool, should be on Steam. It's having trouble getting on Steam. I have a video if you want to go check out some stuff before you actually go say yes, but go say yes on Greenlight. And as always, if you'd like to contact me, you can send your questions, comments, concerns to gaddockteague@gaddockgaming.com or tweet them to @gteague on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes to get your weekly podcast updates, and if you're new to the game or thinking of resubscribing, I provided my refer a friend link in the show notes, so if you'd like a little added incentive to come back, feel free to use it. You can also check out my website, gaddockgaming.com, where I'll post the show, my videos, and I've been posting more gaming blogs. This week I'm going to have a new blog coming up about why I like Dark Souls, and why I think Dark Souls is actually the greatest raid dungeon of all time. So go check out gaddockgaming.com for that. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Unnamed SWTOR Podcast. This is JD, signing off.